Okay, hello everybody. This is a first. This is the Comic Book Syndicate podcast review. It's not really a video. It's not really just audio. It's a little bit of both. But this is Mike Al, your co-host. Joining me as always is co-host G.I.Jolie. Hi, Jolie.
Hello.
And returning a frequent guest on Here Comes the Spider-Cast, as well as a previous guest on movie reviews and comic book reviews in the past. We have Brent, Harvey Brent.
Clark
right?
Brent, Harvey Brent. I still don't know what we decided on. We need a brand manager.
Yes. Everyone can vote on that. And where are you calling in from again?
I'm in the glorious Prince Edward County in Ontario, about an hour south of Kingston.
Awesome. G.I. Jolie is calling in from St. Thomas.
Home of Rachel McAdams.
And of course, I'm in Windsor, home of Shania Twain. Anyway, so we are here to review Marvel's newest show, WandaVision.
I was going to say, we usually do movie reviews. I guess this could be, since this is the only count-onable superhero content that's being released,
right.
maybe we can slot it into the movie reviews.
This might be the start of something different. We're not sure how this is going to work out. But we're not going to go into huge detail about the comic. Everyone knows these characters by now. They've been in the Avengers. I've read some of the comics from the 80s. Vision and the Scarlet Witch by Steve Englehart. There's also a miniseries by Roger Stern. The characters are somewhat different than they are in the movies. But the big thing about this show is that it's really nothing like any other Marvel property that we've seen in live action. 95% of the people that I've seen on Facebook and Twitter, they seem to love it. I can tell you right now, there's that 5% that's like, what is this? You can bet those are the comic book fans from the 80s that are like, man, this is stupid. This sucks. I was a huge fan of it, but I'll go into my detailed review later. Brent, let's get your first impression. What did you think of WandaVision episodes 1 and 2?
So far, so good. I feel like I'm sure we'll touch on a lot of different aspects throughout our chat today. But I think first of all, I think it's refreshing. We talked a lot about, we've talked in the past, just the three of us as friends, about like Cape fatigue, obviously. And now that we're in COVID and we're looking for content, Disney has delivered us serendipitously this opportunity to present superhero content in a new, exciting, fresh format, both in terms of, it's episodic, like The Mandalorian was, but also in terms of the way it's presented. It's presented as this, almost meta take on a superhero, right? And so I think it came right at the right time, just in terms of what's going on in the world, but also in terms of, everybody's been burned out by superhero films and media. Right. So, but I'm right into it. This is the most hooked I've been in a Marvel, content since probably Endgame. So yeah, I'm sure we'll have lots to talk about, but I'm excited.
G.I. Jolie, what's your first impression?
I love it. I'm obsessed. I think I'm obsessed with the idea that I'm watching Paul Bettany in a television show about Vision, and he uses his synthezoid. Is that what they refer to him as?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's that power to make himself look like Paul Bettany with like brown hair. And it's like, it was the relationship that I wanted more of when I was watching the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. It was a relationship I was the most curious about. And I think that this is the best. This is the best thing that they could have ever done, is to do these little spin-off television shows.
Well, and the thing is I think my biggest takeaway from some of the reactions I've seen is that there's some people just don't get it. They don't get what they're doing. And for those that don't know, I'm sure if you're watching this review, you know what it is. But the premise is that Wanda, Maximoff, and Vision are basically in episode 1, they're in a 50s sitcom. In episode 2, they're in a 60s sitcom that's sort of a parody of Bewitched. And we can only assume that as it goes, it's going to be 70s, 80s, on and on and on. And in the first 2 episodes we've seen, there's been slight hints of something coming in from the outside world, which we can get into detail later. but clearly we know that someone on the outside is influencing this or creating this or generating this, whether it's a computer program or whether it's, who knows, it's a hallucination of some kind. But as far as the actual content of these 2 episodes, I don't understand why people are so baffled by this. I mean, it's a parody of sitcoms, and it's well done. Like, I was worried that they wouldn't be able to sustain the joke. Like, I'm thinking, okay, this is funny, but can they sustain it for 22 minutes? Because it's one thing to do a parody for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, but they sustained it for the whole 22 minutes. And I noticed in the first episode, especially the one that's sort of like a fifth, that they actually mimicked the format where they'd set up a joke and then it would come back. Like, I don't remember what the joke was, but there was something between Vision and the Scarlet Witch and then the boss and his wife where they set up a joke and then at the very, very last scene, they brought it back. And I thought, that's what it was. That's what it was. There you go.
The Sokovian greeting.
The Sokovian greeting, yeah.
Exactly. And that's the key, I think, to good satire. It's not just that it's making fun of the source material, it's that it can mimic it. It's almost like if you didn't know this was a Marvel property, you would think it was the real thing, right, Brent? What do you think?
I agree, absolutely. Sorry, you kind of caught me off guard there. I was still hung up on Sokovia.
Oh, okay. First of all, that joke was funny, right?
It was good. It tickled me for sure. But I agree with you in terms of there is a certain authenticity and like they're reproducing that 50s vibe through those, lame jokes that, circle back at the end. I totally see that. And to kind of build off of that too, right at the end of episode 2, are we doing spoilers?
Yeah, we can spoil.
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
At the end of episode 2, when all of a sudden the aspect ratio changes a bit, and then it becomes, the set becomes color, and so it's just, it's really like it's showing the audience both what's going on inside the TV show, but also it's showing what's going on outside of the TV show, right? I love that. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with the 70s. Or the 80s, where it might start with like a Technicolor, WandaVision in Technicolor, or I don't know what's going to happen, but I think it'll be quite interesting to see how episode 3 goes for sure.
Right. G.I.Jolie, what do you think? I mean, do you think people are...
I just don't understand what exactly. I'm trying to pinpoint what exactly it is that they don't like. Because everyone who has been like, I don't get this. I don't think it's going to be very good. That's the only point they've been able to make. And it's like, okay, but specifically based on what you watched, why? Like, what evidence can you draw from the first 2 episodes that we've seen? What evidence from that can you bring to the table to suggest, based on what you think, like, that this wouldn't be successful? Like, no one has drawn any actual conclusions that I can see that warrant, like, an actual reason to be like, this is going to be terrible. Because everyone likes this, like, I'm not you know what I mean? I don't know if you guys have read anything to the contrary, but I have not read anything, because I've tried not to, that would suggest that anyone has any real reason to hate this show.
Well, the thing is, we're judging, like, let's be clear. This is I'm not sure how many episodes, 8 or 10 or whatever. This is the first 2 episodes. So this is like the setup. And we're in a unique position because this is not like Mandalorian, where you can watch the first episode and be like, okay, I get what the show is. This show, we're still in the dark. We don't know where they're going or what's going to happen or how this is going to turn out. But as far as a premise, as far as a setup, I love it. The mystery of what's going to happen, I mean, how can you not love it, right?
Do you think maybe people are, the 5% that we're talking about, do you think they're struggling because they're not used to consuming their superhero content in this format? Sure, we have shows like Arrow and, Smallville and whatnot, which are superhero shows, and they're played out over long seasons. But, we're not really used to that from the MCU, maybe. And so maybe people are struggling to reconcile this new format with, like, just let it breathe, let it play out. And maybe it's, that battle of instant gratification versus this longer form. Like, I think they said by the time it's done, WandaVision will be 6 hours of content, roughly. And so maybe people are struggling to grasp that, like, just the format of it.
Well, I've heard at least a few people be like, oh, they got to pick up the pace. How? Like, it's 22 minutes, which is an episode of a sitcom or a TV show. How can you pick up the pace when it's 22 minutes and you're matching the 22 minutes? Like, what are you hoping to get to? What, you want to see Vision fight somebody? Like, I don't care about that, you know? I love superheroes, but I don't care about who can win in a fight between Hulk and Wolverine. It is a classic 50s American sitcom, and one of them is a witch and one of them is a robot, and that is what makes it cool. And then on top of that, there's the added mystery of what is really going on. Who is causing this? What are these little hints of stuff going on in the outside world? And it almost makes it a little bit like, you know, Lost. Like, you know, a friend of mine, Jared, he's actually watching Lost for the first time now. And I hate to be the one to tell him that it doesn't end as well as it starts, but at least at the beginning of Lost, you were like, okay, what is going on? Where is this island? Why are they on this island? What, blah, blah, blah. And at least the mystery held your interest, right? So for me, I don't know. I'm loving this, Jolie.
There's a slow intrigue that's unfolding, and it happens when when do they break? They don't break a fourth wall, but there's almost like a break in the fourth wall, where you feel like Wanda and Vision are not aware of what's happening. Like, they are fully living inside the sitcom until does she not turn to Vision and tell her to save the boss who's choking?
Yes, which was
the first
weird
episode.
Yes, and
so
that moment,
that was the first time, and I was like, wait a second. They know they're hiding themselves from. They know that they're hiding their superpowered alter egos from other people.
Yeah.
So that's like the second level of like this strange world. So they buy that they're where they are, but they know they have superpowers. And it's when she says that to Vision, and Vision, it kind of cuts to Vision, and he's sort of trying to like understand, or maybe not understand, but like it's the computing that's happening on his face, and then he does it, and he does it with his superpowers. That's the kind of strange intrigue I'm here for. Because they go on after that, and the boss's wife doesn't even acknowledge. And I think Wanda uses her powers to maybe erase that part of her memory, possibly. I don't know.
See, I took that as more than that. I took it as that's also the point in the show where it broke the format of the sitcom, right? Like, 'cause the whole show, the camera is back here like a sitcom, like filming like a play, seeing people. And for that one scene, all of a sudden we have close up on the guy on the floor, close up of Vision, right? And then music got really serious.
The camera work changed.
Right. So I think it's more so that it's also taking it out of it. It's almost like breaking the program, or I don't know what, but something different is happening there, right, Brent? What do you think?
Well, totally. I was going to bring up that example, but also the example from the end of episode 2 with the beekeeper coming out of the sewer. And so there's these little moments, and I think actually too, right before the talent show, someone asked Wanda why she was here, and so there's just like these little moments that they tease where they break it apart, and the tone shifts quickly with it. There is only one other time where I think they hinted, that there's something going on, but they didn't shift the tone, and that was when Agnes, played by Catherine Hahn, said, well, what's your special day for? What's August 23rd for? And you can kind of see Wanda like racking her brain. She's like, anniversary? You would think they would know that. And so that's the only time though that they haven't changed the tone, but they've teased something. You know what I mean?
Yes. It's like a dream. It's like a dream where when you're in a dream, you think it's reality, but then things happen in the dream that give you a hint that it's a dream, right?
Yeah.
Like for example, I didn't realize this until I was reading up on Carl Jung, but apparently I kind of knew this, but I didn't. But I guess in a dream you can't read like text, and
that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, because apparently you dream with one side of your brain, and the other side of your brain is what controls language. So if you're ever in a dream and someone gives you like a letter to read or a book, you can't read it because that side of your brain can't comprehend it. So it's almost like in this WandaVision reality, there's things that are interfering with like the program, right? That are like the choking or the date. It's almost like she knows the date is important, but she can't remember why. And it's just cool that this isn't, like we said, it's not just a parody. it's a parody, but there's other stuff going on underneath the surface, right?
Totally. Oh yeah. I think there's a lot of levels to this show, which I also think separates it from a lot of the MCU. They're able to play with that format, I think, a lot more because they have the time to let it breathe again.
And like,
Right.
I mean, I have to admit that I looked up because it was bothering me. The Notebook, that's the person who's like viewing them on the television. The Notebook has the sword symbol on it, and so does the little helicopter that she pulls out of the bush that's color, and so does the beekeeper's uniform. So I'm not as familiar with agencies inside Marvel Comics. So I had to look up what Sword is. And apparently it's a sister agent of SHIELD. Stands for Sentient World Observation and Response Department. And which tracked with the organization's stated mission is to deal with alien worlds, alternate dimensions, pocket realities, and other oddities in a perhaps more aggressive fashion than SHIELD might. So they are sort of alien entities. She's a mutant. He's a cyborg, synthezoid.
Right.
So maybe this is a simulation. If it is, is this a way that Sword is observing these two beings? And if so, I think me and Brent sort of were speculating about it when he asked me if I had seen WandaVision. When does this happen in the timeline? Like, does this happen after the events of Endgame? Because the Vision is gone.
That's what I was... Okay, because here's the thing. I love Marvel Comics. I love DC Comics. I'm not an expert on the movies, but I know Vision died in Infinity War. Is he still dead in Endgame? Because he was killed separately. He wasn't killed by the snap, right? He was actually murdered by Thanos.
Yeah, they took the stone out of his head.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think, isn't there also a point in this in the WandaVision where somebody says to Vision, like somebody says something about being dead, and they said, "Well, aren't you dead?" or something like that? Right?
Oh, vaguely recall this. Yes.
Right. So I don't know.
Was that when he was eating with the boys at the neighborhood watch? Was it around there?
I don't remember. Because I actually didn't notice it. I read up on it. Someone pointed it out online.
Okay.
I wish. But anyway,
I think there was a quick comment at the neighborhood watch meeting where it was members only, and Vision wanted to be a part of the watch, and he ate a kernel of popcorn. I think it was right before he ate the kernel of popcorn that somebody made a quick offhand comment, possibly.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was either that or, like, for me, I was like, okay, trying to fit this in the timeline. It's either after Endgame or it happened when Vision was sort of helping to keep Wanda, hold her sort of hostage after they destroyed Sokovia and her brother died.
Right.
But it wouldn't make sense because they were in the Avengers compound. They weren't at SHIELD, so no one would have been observing them. It would make more sense if it was happening after Endgame. Yes.
But I think about it. And the reason I asked Jolie initially, I'm like, whose voice do you think that is on the radio? Because there's the voice is saying, Wanda, who's doing this to you? It sounds like Chris Evans. And that's why I was like, okay, when does this take place? Because Chris Evans is now, Joe Biden incarnate. Like, he's old.
Yeah, and I took so long to get back to you because I had to watch it again to hear it. And I was like, no, it does sound like Chris Evans. And that's why I was like, maybe they were in the Avengers compound and they were not in the Avengers compound and they're actually in Sword. But, like, again, what?
Yeah.
Who knows? Well, I think that part, like, having... like the addition of having small intrigues and symbols and Easter eggs scattered throughout the show that have nothing to do with the parody of television is it adds another sort of like Botticelli-like layer to this painting that they're presenting to us, and it makes this show so amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry, when you said Botticelli, I thought Buttafuoco, but I gotta I don't know why I mixed those two up. Anyway, okay, so also, did you know Sword was invented by Joss Whedon in Astonishing X-Men? Did you know that?
I
Yeah.
do now. It
Yeah.
says it right here in this Collider article.
There you go.
Oh.
There you go. I'm reading
So-
that right now. Actually, we're reading the same article. So let's talk about the actors, the two main actors. What's his name? Paul Bettany.
Yeah.
Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen. I mean, I've always thought they were both great, but I gotta say, I mean, I always knew Paul Bettany was great because I've seen him in other things, but I thought Elizabeth Olsen really stood out. Like her the way that she mimicked the vocal not pattern, but like the delivery of a 50s sitcom actress. I thought she was really good in this. What did you guys think of both of them?
Yeah, well, I think again, I mean, that goes again to the whole format of the show where they're allowing Scarlet Witch to be, or Elizabeth Olsen to perform in these kinds of situations. When you think of her in the MCU, the girl's always somber. She's always pissed because her brother was killed, in the first movie that she was basically a main character in. And so her arc through the MCU has been fairly, she's been fairly tortured. And so we haven't really been able to see this up range of her where she's able to do all these, lighthearted and comedic timing in terms of her cadence and her speech. So that's been really refreshing, and that's something that definitely stood out to me. But also with Vision too, with Paul Bettany, Vision is fairly robotic, justifiably so, in the MCU, and now we get to see this range to him. So I mean, yeah, A pluses to both of them to really bring out a different side of these characters that nobody can say they've seen in the MCU before.
Mm-hmm.
Jolie, what do you think?
Well, somebody online had mentioned that they were looking forward because they're like, I don't believe that Paul. I really didn't think that Paul Bettany was going to do a great job based on the trailers that I saw, because I don't consider him a comedic actor. The way that somebody had said about Kristen Wiig that they didn't consider her a dramatic actor. And I was like, well, here's the thing. You have to seek out their entire breadth of work if you want to make assumptions like that or make assertions in that kind of way. And it's like, did you? And I know it's not that great, but it's kind of one of those nostalgia movies for me. But like, he was a great comedic character in A Knight's Tale.
Okay.
He played Geoffrey Chaucer, and his character shows up like fully nude. That's how it begins.
As he should be.
Yeah, right? And it's like, how can you underestimate? I hate when people underestimate great actors. It's like they are great. He's a great dramatic actor as well. And what, you didn't think he could do comedy? You didn't think he could act in a television show? Come on.
Well, that's because they're basing it on the two movies they've seen them in, right? It's just like Robert Pattinson with the Batman. Everyone, if I have to hear one more person make a joke about a glittering vampire, like Robert Pattinson has done 15 to 20 at least other roles that I've seen. I mean, don't you realize these people do other roles? Like, if you're gonna criticize someone, at least look into their filmography, right?
Yeah, if you're gonna criticize them based on the work that they do as a professional actor,
right?
Watch all their work, then criticize. Team Edward, by the way. But like, come on. And do you know what? I'm so glad that there are other Olsens in that family, because Elizabeth Olsen is probably the best actor in the bunch.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
she's talented.
Yeah, I mean, I loved. Was it the It Takes Two?
Yes.
All those little spy movies, but come on, like Elizabeth Olsen, amazing.
She's great. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could talk about every actor. I mean, they're all great. Like, I mean, and I don't know all their names, but we have the husband. Sorry, the boss's wife. She's from
Deborah Jo Rupp.
Yeah, from that '70s show.
Right, that '70s show.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the husband is from the boss. What is the boss from? Do you know?
No, I don't recall seeing him in anything.
Okay. And then I didn't realize this until someone pointed out to me, but the host of the party, like the little pool party they go to, is Emma Caulfield from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
It is, yes.
I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
All excellent. Sorry, go ahead, Brent.
I was gonna say, are we also gonna mention we cannot not mention their neighbor Agnes, played by Catherine Hahn.
I don't know what is she from?
So Catherine, she's in a lot. Like she's an accomplished actress as well. My frame of reference, though, just for me personally, is she is a big recurring character in Parks and Recreation. She plays the campaign manager of Paul Rudd's character, but she has that typical blasé, like just very like it's very like that probably doesn't translate well through voice, but she has this very specific way of speaking, and she's very up all the time. So she's a perfect person to be cast in a 50s and 60s sitcom. Like she works just perfectly. But I don't know if you guys noticed, through all of her scenes, she wears a very specific brooch. Have you guys seen this?
No, I didn't notice that. No.
Talk about it.
She wears a brooch that possibly suggests, and if you look into it closely, it has 3 women on it, on the brooch. And there is speculation that might be related to witchcraft. And so people are thinking Agnes might actually be Agatha from the comics.
Right. Is it Harkness, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Oh. Right. Okay. So here's the thing. I just looked up WandaVision cast on Google, and I just spoiled a huge cast member that I didn't know was going to be in this, and I didn't want to talk about it. I don't know if you know about this, but I don't want to ruin it. Huh?
I do. I think I do know who you're talking about, but I'll let you tell me. Evan Peters.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had no idea. What the hell?
It's so funny today. Jason was watching TikToks, and he was like, somebody brought up WandaVision and brought up that Evan Peters was in it. And then somebody said Quicksilver. And I was like, oh my God, he could play Quicksilver. He played Quicksilver in the X-Men films. Now Disney owns the X-Men films. They could bring him back to play Quicksilver in the 70s and 80s.
Yes. Isn't that crazy?
It hit me like a ton of bricks because, her biological twin brother, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, died in Age of Ultron. And so this could be a way of kind of playing into that dream sequence where it's her brother, but not really her brother. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That'd be brilliant. They have the opportunity to do that.
Do you know what? I'm really confused. One, I'm excited. I love Evan Peters. And every time they don't cast him as a character in American Horror Story, I immediately rage, shut off the television, and wait until the entire season is done before I watch the rest. But Kat Dennings is also her character from Thor is in it. Yeah. And also, so I'm kind of excited to see how they write that in. But Teyonah Parris plays Monica Rambeau.
I didn't know that when I was watching. I didn't know that was Monica Rambeau.
She's amazing. An Avenger, isn't she?
She's Captain Marvel. She's the second Captain Marvel. Yeah. Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she introduces herself by a different name, and that's why I didn't immediately catch on.
Yeah. I believe she is also, though, is she not the person who asked Wanda, what are you doing here? Or why are you here? Was she not the person that asked Wanda that to take her out really quick for a second? I could be wrong. I'm sorry. This might be all bad for the podcast. But
I don't remember exactly.
I believe she was the one because it was when they were backstage from the talent show. And I think she really quickly, she was like the stage manager, was she not? And so I feel like she was the one that like quickly took Wanda out of it and said, what are you doing here? Or why are you here?
Mm-hmm. You see, I have to rewatch both of these episodes. And that's the thing is they warrant rewatching, right? Like there's enough in them, I think, that they warrant it.
Yeah.
Also, we haven't talked about the commercials. Remember there was the commercial in the first one? The Stark, the toaster?
There was also a Hydra commercial.
Yes. Baron, and what was it called? A Strucker watch? Baron von Strucker.
Yes.
Right? So it's great. I mean, I have no complaints about this. I don't know. I am so excited about it to see where it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
I mean, I could talk about Evan Peters all day. Like we can rank his American Horror Story roles. We can do whatever you want.
Just the lead up.
Yeah, we talk about Marvel movies, DC movies all the time. I do have to give DC props for doing Joker, even though I didn't think it was as good as everyone else did. At least they took a chance with Joker. We gave Wonder Woman 1984 a positive review. We all loved it. But Marvel, even though I've complained about how middle of the road a lot of their movies are, at least this show is trying something different, right? And so I don't know. I mean, they're in a position now where they probably can't top Endgame. They probably can't go bigger than Endgame. Like it was the biggest movie ever made. So now they're just gonna kind of go sideways. They're gonna, experiment with genre, experiment with storytelling. I don't know. I mean, I'm really happy about this.
No, I'm absolutely on the same page as you because there's so much room for experimentation with these characters now that they have a different format to sort of allow these characters to grow. And like they should have always been television shows, like the Harry Potter films, Lord of the Rings always should have been television shows. Long format, great storytelling. For some reason writers are always super good. The writing is really good. This is has showcase HBO, sort of like
HBO Max.
Yeah. Kind of all over it, even though it, DC is HBO Max, whatever. But it makes me excited for the Winter Soldier and Falcon.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, is that going to be like an espionage style show where where it's like the Bourne Identity, but they're like buddies? Like, I'm excited. And this one is just like, this is crazy. This is like weird Twilight Zone stuff. And that one I hope is like detectives, kind of procedural.
I'm really excited to see them. Like, I understand we had the New Mutants, which was filmed like 4 years ago and just released last year, and that was an attempt at a horror genre superhero film. Maybe didn't hit the mark, but I'm excited to see how Disney would try an MCU, if they would, first of all, because it's Disney. But maybe they could do a streaming show format in terms of a horror. Like maybe, I don't know if Moon Knight would quite qualify as a horror. Probably not. That's more of like a neo noir kind of thing. I'm thinking Moon Knight might be like a Sin City vibe possibly. But I'd be really interested to see some sort of horror output from the MCU.
People rave about Legion, which I've never seen, but that's supposed to be a really good show and I've never seen it. But that was one of those ones where I think now going forward, all the Marvel TV shows will tie together, whereas previously there was like the Netflix Marvel, there was Network Marvel, there was like Hulu Marvel, right? And I think now it's all going to kind of go to, fit together. So I hope it's still good. But as far as I know, Legion is supposed to be a really good show. So that might have been sort of like a horror genre, but I'm not sure because I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
It's definitely very adult.
It's psychological thriller.
Yeah, if they kind of went the same vein as like Riverdale Chilling Adventures of Sabrina with like a little less sexed up, I think that they could Disney Plus that. Yeah.
I wasn't sure just in terms of the audience they're trying to reach with their Disney or Disney Plus originals. But I would be definitely on board with something more adult themed, I guess. But maybe that's what they're going to do with Moon Knight. Who knows?
And what's funny is as I was watching these two episodes, I was like, oh, this is the way you do it. Low budget, make the writing good, keep it simple. No, the budget for each episode is like 25 million. So, so you add that up times 10 episodes, and you basically have Avengers. You might as well just, you know what I mean?
So, well, I mean, it's a fraction of what their theme parks would be making if they were open.
Right.
Yeah.
But I hear that they're open to full capacity right now anyway, so.
Gotta love Florida.
Yeah. So, basically, again, we all, it sounds like we all love it. We all recommend it. We're all looking forward to more. I mean, this is a show that I am absolutely going to tune in every week for, a new episode. And by the way, I prefer week by week. What do you guys think? Do you guys like dumping it all at once or week to week?
You know what? I feel like it depends on the show for me. But I think for WandaVision, I agree with you, Mike. I would like to see a week by week release. But some shows, I need it right now, you know? But at WandaVision, I wanted to breathe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with me lately and consuming television and movies, but if I can do it week by week, I remember it more.
Yep.
It's like the TV shows that I used to watch. Like I used to watch Buffy when it came out, and I remember, I remember lines, but that's not because I, have a annual rewatch of it since like 2006. But I remember it. I remember Friends. I remember, like, oddly, that 70s show. Stuff that I watched on television live when it aired, I remember better than stuff that I can just consume all of it at once. Like, I just watched Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Was it one of the best seasons? Yes. Do I remember most of it? No.
No, it's all a blur. You just consume it so quickly. Your brain can't process all this new information and this cinematography and all this coming in. Like we're not built for that, you know?
Right. Well, that's the thing. And also, sorry, go ahead, Jolie.
No, I was going to say it certainly helps to also like want to talk it out for a television show.
Well, and also the fact that let me tell you this, if it would have dropped 9 episodes in one day, would we be talking about this as much as, no, like we'd have all the answers. So there'd be nothing to talk about. Like, at least now there's a little bit of time for it to percolate, right? And us to go, and that's the key, I think, right?
That's actually, that was probably intentional by them because it's unfolding the way that it is, that they're like, okay, people are really going to be talking about this because you're only going to get a little bit of the layer peeled back each week. So that warrants discussion, and discussion warrants, merchandise and purchase of merchandise. So in a way, it's clever the way they did this.
Exactly. Well, and in being clever, they're really just going back to the way TV was for the first 80 years of its existence, right? Week to week, right? Like, let's be clear, like you said, to sell merch, to get people talking, to drag out that experience. Why not, right? So I prefer it this way. So we're all going to be watching more. Who knows? Maybe we'll even come back and review future episodes. We won't promise it yet, but maybe. We'll see.
We'll see, yeah.
Yep. So there you go. I'd like to thank G.I.Jolie and Harvey Brent for joining us for this week's review. We could be back soon. Who knows? If you enjoyed this, let us know. Definitely leave your comments in the below. You can watch this on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, on our website, comicbooksyndicate.com. We'll probably put it also maybe on Stitcher, iTunes, and Spotify. We don't make any promises, though, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Also, don't forget, just in case you heard us misspeak, because we all know the internet loves to correct us, send all your hate mail to mail@comicbooksyndicate.com.
There you go.
We want to keep that conversation alive.
Yeah. All press is good press.
You got that right. And also check out our podcast, Here Comes the Spidercast, and Flea Market Fantasy. So we'll be seeing you all soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.